I've had this topic on the show docket for months now, and we just have run out of time and I've never been able to ask it. But I think this is a good one to ask as our final question here. I want to ask the question, do collectors really care about second tier, third tier brands? Maybe if it's the right character, right? Because we just talked about Harry Potter. InArt obviously is a top tier brand right now. Everyone's paying attention very closely to what they're doing and what they're making and releasing and so forth. But when we start thinking about other brands, right? We think about Asmus, we think about Threezero, brands like that. Those figures typically, most of them anyway, some do, most of them do not tend to perform well in the aftermarket. Once the figure sells out, no one gives a shit. You can go buy Jaime Lannister for under retail still, right? You can go buy Tormund, as great as that figure is, probably for under retail, right? You can go buy Asmus figures. Even that Gandalf the White sells out, you can probably still get that reasonably with that horse, right? So the question is, do collectors really care? Because a lot of us want the best that we can reasonably afford. Sometimes the character you're only going to get through 3-0, like the Stranger Things figures, right? They don't look absolutely amazing, but you're not going to get them anywhere else in 1/6 scale. So you might just buy it anyway. But most people don't really seem to give a shit. Like when I talk about, I'm already seeing the viewers drop now. When I'm talking about like Asmus or I'm talking about like 3-0 figures or whatever, people just don't care, right? So I'm interested to ask the question, why is it just the quality or is it just limited budget? What do we think? So Riley, do you think people really care about sort of brands that are considered lesser than?
Right. So I have a question about the question. Are you also basing this off like third party, like unlicensed figures?
You can. But third party is, I guess it depends on the company. Like some companies are probably like Game Toys, I think is producing pretty banger shit. Same as So.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'd say that it's a mix of what you just said, really. I think that there's, for one thing, just too much saturation with really good shit, like really good figures. So I think the problem is stuff like a Boromir or like a Nazgul from Asmus. That's going to be one where you're just like, nah, like I'm not going to pick that up right now because there's just, why am I going to buy those two when I can already just get like a hot toy version of something else? Because for one thing, yeah, the quality for these companies, the second and third tier brands, they're not going to match, obviously, the top tier. That'd be Hot Toys, InArt, or whatever is your first tier for you. So I think that's a big decider. Another huge decider is simply, like you said, the quality of these certain figures and the price. So Hot Toy figures are already drastically getting they've dropped a little bit, but they're still obviously a premium price. So I think stuff like this, like a Rambo, stuff like you said, Asmus, 3-0, things like this is going to be like, no, I can't do this honestly because I have to complete a line of, I don't know, that's say like No Way Home or something. There's so many lines out there that are so expensive that now you have to really limit yourself, or at least I do. I know that a lot of people out there as well. If you're super rich and you can buy whatever you want, then props to you. You can go get whatever line you want. But for me, like all of us have been preaching a lot, is like you said, the best example is tier-based collecting. You're more so limiting yourself to certain figures, certain brands, certain amounts of figures. Like you said, Will, you only want a specific amount of figures in your collection. And I'm the same way. I can't really exceed that. So I think figures like a Rambo, figures like 3-0, Asmus, unless that character means that much for you and you love that character enough and there's no other brand that's making it, not Hot Toys or InArt, then you'd pull the trigger. But for me, it's just going to slip under the radar with how much saturation we have in the market. That's what I say.
Right. And that's the thing, because we got a really good comment here from Game Shift 2020. And I do agree. Their quality is generally pretty consistent. And that Jaime Lannister figure, I'm actually going to rebuy it at some point. Like, I do really like it. And I think it's a really, really good figure. But it's one that I know I can pretty much pick up whenever, right? Like, I think, yeah. What were we saying?
3-0's gotten better.
Right.
If you look at the first Game of Thrones line to the most recent ones, it's night and day.
Right.
They're so good now.
Right. And you see a figure like this where it's kind of like, it's decent, right? But I think nowadays, right, is decent good enough? That's the question, right? When you got InArt, you got Hot Toys, you got even So and other game toys, and Threezero has really stepped their game up, I feel. Stuff like that. Dean, what do you think? I mean, do people care about these other brands?
I think there's definitely people that care. Because like you said, it's like the Game of Thrones line, like if you love those characters, that's the company that's going to make it. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to support it. I'm going to go buy them. When you talk about like the big franchises, it's not usually these smaller companies doing it. It's the Hot Toys, the InArts, the Sideshows, the whoever, right? The Marvel, DC. That's what draws a bigger crowd. But there's crowds for everything else. I mean, the Walking Dead figures you haven't pulled up right here, Threezero, like a TV show. Like,
Right.
who's going to make toys from a TV show? Well, we'll do it.
I wish
So
they
I think,
did.
yeah, I think enough people pay attention and care about them. I mean, I probably have just as many non-Hot Toys as Hot Toys.
Right.
I'm probably sitting somewhere in like the neighborhood of like 200 6-scale figures, and yeah, probably half of them are Hot Toys. So I'm on the market for whatever property I like, and whoever makes it, I have no problem if it's 3.0 or whatever. If it looks cool and usually much cheaper,
Right.
those Game of Thrones figures are usually around like 200 something bucks. Not God, how much was Tormund's? Do you remember?
Like
Aren't they like 180?
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like,
but
bro,
no
come on,
base, which is kind of a pain in the ass. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. But I mean, you could buy generic bases on Amazon for like
You
$8
can.
bucks
Right.
each. So
Right.
if not getting a goddamn base means my figures are cheaper, I'll buy third party bases. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah, I think people care. I think they do.
Interesting. Yeah. And I think it depends on the character, right? At the end of the day, because
Right.
Riley, you brought up third party, like people will buy third party if the character is right. People will buy 3.0 if the character is right. So
People will buy, what is the name of it? Let me pull this up really quick. There's this line, and I don't know what the line even is,
yeah.
but they do these really intricate like art figures. Where did it go? I just saw it earlier today.
Yeah, because I mean, there's some good companies out there doing good stuff. It's just hard to get people's attention nowadays.
Damn it! Of course, now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it.
Well, because this Rick Grimes figure, I mean, Optical has it, and he absolutely loves it. He told me it's great.
Dude, I was gonna say I'm glad you pulled this up because this is one where it's so hard for me because Walking Dead to me, that's like one of if not my favorite TV show. I love, and even the character of Rick Grimes, he's like one of my all-time favorites.
Right.
So it's tough for me because I look at this and I say it does look good, but is it good enough? And I don't know if it is for me.
We'll see.
Is
That's
there a
the thing,
private
Riley.
chat? Here we go.
Yeah. So that's
Let
the
me-
thing, Riley. It's like I really wanted a Rick Grimes too because I loved The Walking Dead. I watched like maybe the first 5 or 6 seasons of it, and
Right.
season 1 is the best. However, do I want Rick Grimes in a police uniform? Not really. I'd rather have him sort of in a later season with sort of his more tattered outfit
Right.
and whatever, like with a beard or something. I would love to see
Right.
that Rick Grimes person, and I think they will tackle that one eventually again. I think they will do that one again. So yeah. Or
I
just
sent
anything-
I sent it in the private chat.
Okay, yeah, let me pull it up.
It's a Blitzway. I don't. These figures aren't even from like a thing. I don't think they're like artist figures. And I saw so many people talking about these. This came up for pre-order this week, and it's like, I mean, what even is this? But there's people that are excited for it. These figures sell out, and they get very expensive.
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, the market's out there for like the niche shit. So people definitely care, but it's just, they're not big properties. So the amount of people isn't the same,
Right.
but they still have people that care.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And then InArt, dude, an InArt Rick Grimes. I'd pay $1,000 for a Rick Grimes, honestly. A Rick InArt one, dude. I love that character. So I'd want one. I
We'll
would,
see.
dude. Really.
I would
If it
love
was
a Rick Grimes
two-pack,
too. Well, because if you
Yeah.
did a rooted beard and rooted hair and
right?
stuff, I
I'd be
think it
so
would be
and like a bloody sculpt, like dude, that would be
right.
sick.
I think a Rick Grimes would be awesome. I think a lot of people, and I think InArt talked about that at one point, but again,
Yeah.
they haven't even done a lot of the phase 1 list yet. So
Right.
yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll see. But anyway, guys, yeah, thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. Yeah, I guess it depends on the company and depends on the figure, but yeah, I guess we'll see.